Boom. Yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty Show. We're rocking with the best two from the Fantasy Wildcard crew today. It's myself, Mags. You can catch me over at Hot Seat Mags over on X. And we got James as well at JLesFF. James, we had enough of Ali. We decided we didn't even want him on the show today, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's got some internet issues. Seems to be props up every now and again, but yeah, maybe he can join us a bit later on in the show. But yeah, looking forward to it. Obviously, we're going to talk about a bit different, some vets this week, and not the rookies that we've kind of been dealing with over the last few weeks. And obviously, everyone's in rookie drafts right now, right? I've got so many going on at the moment. But yeah, it's a nice to sort of switch up a bit, I think.
Yeah, I realized the downfall of doing the show with you when I tried to trade in for one of your picks, and you were like, I know exactly what you're doing here, and no, you could not grab Shedeur Sanders. So I was slightly gutted about that, but here we are. We'll move on. You enjoyed that share of Shedeur, and when he hits it big, like I've said, James, you can thank me later. Maybe throw me a fourth or something for free.
It's my only one, I think. So yeah, had to get one of them.
Yeah, you got to get one. As Ali's not here, I'll say get one just in case, right? Just in case. So we're gonna go over Shedeur Sanders and the fallout of all these rookies, but we're going to talk about it through the perspective of these veterans. So everybody strap in, hit subscribe wherever you're watching, and let's go. We're going to start off with some of the big losers, shall we? I'm going to talk about the quarterback position to start with, James. And this is tricky actually to find some like actual losers that were here. I mean, the one that made me the most sad was Jameis Winston, I suppose, because there was a road for him to maybe go in and start in New York. That would have been great for Malik Neighbors and other players like it. But we've got Russell Wilson there. And even if Russ doesn't perform, now we've got Jackson Dart in there as well. I don't really see a path for Jameis Winston getting any time on the field, unfortunately, which is a real shame because everybody loves to watch Jameis Winston play, and I just don't think we're going to get a huge opportunity to see that, sadly. And the actual, I don't know, maybe the bigger loser from that, even though he's not technically on the team right now, Aaron Rodgers, we've seen his options really deplete after the rookie draft. We've seen, half the quarterbacks go to the Browns, so Aaron Rodgers, he's not going there. We've seen, obviously Cam Ward go to the Titans. We've seen people go left, right, and center. The Giants was another potential Aaron Rodgers spot that he was going to fall to. It looks now, James, I don't know if you see anywhere else. It looks like it's Steelers or bust for Aaron Rodgers and nowhere else. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm still assuming that he is going to sign with the Steelers because like they don't have anyone else, and maybe we'll talk about that later. But obviously, post draft, there has been one sort of bit of news on quarterbacks, and that's obviously Derek Carr retiring.
Yeah.
I was going to say David Carr, that's his brother, isn't it? So yeah, maybe there's a very small chance that the Saints see him as a sort of potential, but obviously they've got your favourite rookie / veteran. I had a shock there already. I saw someone put a tweet out saying that wouldn't it be great for Aaron Rodgers to sit behind a vet like Tyler Shuck?
Nice.
But yeah, surely it seems like the Saints that doesn't seem like a logical move. I think for Aaron Rodgers, he'd probably prefer that, right? Playing in a dome with Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. Yeah, certainly be better for him. But yeah, I don't really see anyone outside of the Steelers. Maybe he just decides that that's it and he's had enough. I certainly have a few dynasty teams where he's sort of clinging on as my quarterback free. So kind of hope he doesn't do that. But yeah, it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, even if he goes to the Steelers, I think he'll suck anyway. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been good for a very long time. So, I mean, we'll see. But I still had to put him as a loser because apart from that, I mean, the die was kind of cast already for a lot of these quarterbacks. So it was kind of hard to find a lot of losers at the quarterback position, which is great. More obvious choices for you, though, James, at the running back position. Some clear losers there.
Yeah, some of these guys that we kind of spoke about in free agency. So the first one for me is obviously one of probably the biggest running back signing in free agency, Najee Harris, the Chargers.
Yeah.
Obviously, he only signed a 1-year deal, so it's not like we were expecting him to be there for a long time. But obviously the Chargers drafted Hampton in the first round. So, the hope, I guess, would have been that instead of someone in the first round, they took someone day 2, day 3. And then, Najee was the lead back for the year. I think he's probably going to start with the majority of the touches certainly early on in the season, but it won't take long. So I guess if you roster him, your kind of only hope is that he does have the majority of the touches early on in the season, and you can kind of flip him maybe for a second or something like that. I don't really think you need much more, are you, for him? And then the other one for me is Jerome Ford, who I don't know if I read this right. He recently took a pay cut and he's on like half his salary. And surely that doesn't make sense, right? Or it's definitely like half his guaranteed salary. Because he didn't need to sign a new deal, but he signed a new 1-year deal and it was like half what he was on last year.
Sure.
Which is a bit weird, but obviously the Browns drafted not 1 but 2 running backs. So I think again we kind of expected that they would add a running back, but with all of their other issues on their roster, you maybe didn't think it would be. I think it was 2 day 2 picks in the end, wasn't it? So yeah, you never really expected. Yeah, you never really expected him to be more than sort of a flex player for you or whatever. But I mean, realistically now he's kind of done, isn't he? There's a couple of others that are fairly obvious, like the Jags running backs, obviously with Tootin going there. Tracy for the Giants with Scatterbo. And then Ramondre Stevenson with Henderson going there. I think Ramondre is probably still going to have a decent enough role, but yeah, longevity and everything like that just isn't going to be there with them drafting the rookie that early.
Yeah. This is kind of expected, right? After the running back class had been touted up so much, we thought this would happen, and some of these veterans, guys like Jerome Ford, who was the best will in the world, not an elite player, probably not even a good player, if we're being really honest. Guys like that get pushed out a little bit, and some of these real talented players coming in and taking their spot. It didn't happen absolutely everywhere, kind of like what I expected. There are different places where you're like, oh, okay, your Chase Browns of the world still has a hole somewhere, and your terrible players like Kyron Williams, of course, still got a hole somewhere as well. But maybe their time will come this season with some of those later round picks that those teams have brought in. Ali was on wide receivers. He has been very kind and left us some of his notes. So, James, we'll go over some of them. His main guy that he talked about, Jalen McMillan, that is a real obvious one. He seemed like he was just getting going with Emeka Egbuka arriving. I don't see how he special teams aside, and even then Egbuka was seen returning kicks in training camp. How's McMillan even going to make the field?
Yeah, it's injury reliant, isn't it? With obviously Godwin re-signed as well. So yeah, outside of an injury to Godwin and Evans, McMillan's he's kind of certainly for Dynasty anyway. You're never starting him because you just can't have that confidence that he's going to have any significant role.
Yeah, it's super difficult. And then he sort of mentioned others like the whole list of wide receivers over at the Packers. Christian Watson, who, I mean, just injuries have unfortunately kind of derailed him, and all those other guys with Matthew Golden coming in, you'd expect him to take more targets. I'm not convinced Matthew Golden is the best wide receiver in that room, but we'll have to wait and see. I think it could continue to be a spread where lots of people are getting targets. And then he also mentioned, over at the Texans, they received 2 stud receivers during the draft, of course. So people like Christian Kirk are going to suffer a little bit. What do you make? That's an exciting room the Texans have now, but Christian Kirk, the veteran, you'd think he's going to play quite a lot to start with, and then you would see Higgins and Noel take over, right?
Yeah, it's going to be one of those classic cases of the rookie wide receiver sort of emerging later on in the season. Like with Higgins and Noel, you're not really going to be able to stick them in your lineups until you see what's happening and see how it shakes out. So yeah, it's going to be one of those things that eventually the Texans will realize, these guys are much better. We'll just play them. Christian Kirk is one of those where he's kind of hung around, hasn't he? He's moved around the last few years and never really been sort of a true alpha or anything like that. And yeah, it's just a bit almost probably roster clogger territory now with those guys sort of joining the Texans as well.
Yeah, I've had one or two deals already. I've seen people trying to trade me him like for like as a throw-in piece, which I do like that people are doing that while he still has some kind of name. So
Yeah.
that's a good move for sure. And James, we'll move on to rosier pastures and we'll talk about some of the winners of this draft because there were quite a lot of winners as well, which is great. At the quarterback position, shockingly, Justin Fields is a winner. Like, I don't quite understand what the Jets are going. I mean, Aaron Rodgers not going there. We know that for sure. So it does look like they're going to roll with Justin Fields as their starting quarterback. I'm not sure who else is behind him. Did they draft Brady Cook? Who, I mean, last year, 2 years ago, I was like, Brady Cook's okay. Brady Cook's pretty decent. He stunk the place out last year, though. He was terrible. So, I mean, there is a small chance that he could see the field. But if he plays anything like he did for Mizzou last year, then there's little to no chance of him usurping Justin Fields. The other winners I had, Bryce Young, they're obviously going to roll with him. That was kind of be expected, I would say. A lot of people are talking about Mason Rudolph being a winner. There's no way. There's no way Mason Rudolph can be a starting quarterback in 2025. I think Will Howard's already better than him. I think Aaron Rodgers is probably going to come in and overtake him anyway. But let's circle back to Justin Fields, James. I'd love to talk to you about him. Why have the Jets decided to do this? What's going on?
I think it's the case of sort of taking the medicine of the Aaron Rodgers situation where they've gone all in on a sort of a veteran that they've, I mean, they didn't have to pay too much for him in terms of draft capital, but it just created the franchise, didn't it? Like before they signed him, it was a case of the Jets are sort of a quarterback away from a contending roster, and then obviously, we never really got to see him because of that Achilles injury in his first game, but it was all downhill from there. And last season it obviously got even worse. Ended up sacking the head coach and everything like that. I think they've just kind of decided that they're going to go with a slightly cheaper guy that's not going to have much of a negative impact on the dressing room, the locker room, and they've just, I don't know, they must have seen enough from Fields last year that they thought that they could make something work. But they didn't want to. I guess they didn't want to also handcuff themselves from taking a rookie next year. So they didn't want to go out and sign someone better, just in case it put them in a similar position where they're picking in the teens and they're not going to. I don't know how many quarterbacks they'll end up being in the draft next year, but they didn't want to sort of rule them out of that. So I kind of get it a bit, and obviously it's great for fantasy because when he's on the field, he's a startable player, and if you've rostered him and held on to him, it's really useful because his value, like this time a year ago, like imagine, like he completely cratered, didn't it? He was almost worthless because no one in the NFL wanted to trade for him. So you're certainly not getting anything for him in Dynasty. So maybe now's a good time to sell him, I guess, if he sort of was cemented him as the starter for the year. But if you've sort of hung on to him in your roster and he's one of your three quarterbacks, I think he's okay to play for this year and then sort of see what happens after that.
Yeah. Sort of off topic a little bit. This hurts Breece Hall as well, right? You got to think, man, Breece Hall was such a promising running back. He at one stage in his career was someone's running back one overall, I'm sure, for Dynasty. He did have that lofty value. And this is nothing but bad for him, right?
It's similar with Breece Hall in terms of the rest of the Jets franchise. It's all been sort of downhill the last couple of years. Obviously, his rookie season was amazing, and running back one for lots of people until obviously the injury. And then I think he had one sort of fairly decent season when he came back, and then last year was very disappointing. And obviously they've got those two other running backs now, so there's his future for the Jets is not sort of guaranteed, I guess, at the moment. And he's sort of back in running back one, I guess, in terms of dynasty value now.
Yeah, it's a real shame, and let's talk some nice cities about some running backs instead, shall we? And let's talk about some veteran running backs, James, that you think were real winners of the draft, shall we?
Yeah, so this one's kind of hilarious, but the Cowboys running back room. I can't remember. I feel like it was a show that me and Ali did, and you weren't there when we were talking about these free agents that had benefited or whatever from signing for new teams. And Javonte Williams is one that we spoke about. And we said, oh, there's no way the Cowboys don't draft a running back. There's just no way. I mean, we weren't wrong, but we didn't see it being in the 5th round. So, yeah, obviously they drafted Jaden Blue. Yeah, I don't think that we can really expect that much from someone who's, I think, is the 13th running back taken in the draft. So, yeah, I think obviously I'm taking him in the 3rd round of rookie drafts where I can, kind of thing, and hoping that he sort of wins the lead role. But yeah, it at the moment it seems like it's Javonte. He's the running back that was drafted. What was he, 1st round pick? And he was the Broncos, wasn't he? So he's the guy that has sort of the pedigree. I'm not 100% sure on his contract, and they've got Miles Sanders as well. And I don't know what sort of both their contracts are like, but I think now's a decent time to sort of maybe sell these guys if you can get anything for them, because they won the draft in terms of there's no sort of clear running back that's taken their sort of role. But the way that Javonte Williams has looked the last couple of seasons, just no expectations for him to be any sort of significant dynasty contributor. I don't know if you've got anything else to add.
Man, I like Javonte Williams. You know that? Like, I really liked him coming out of college. He was over at North Carolina and brace yourself. I know Matt the Weatherman's listening. I'm about to say 2 words people haven't mentioned on a Dynasty show in years. Michael Carter. How about that guy? Him and Javonte Williams together were an absolute force. Javonte was always a real expert at getting yards after contact, breaking tackles, but injuries have just crushed him. If he can stay healthy somehow over at the Cowboys and they can treat him right and use those state-of-the-art facilities they have over there, I don't know. I think there's something in there. I'm slightly pessimistic that maybe that player has been ruined by the injuries. Jaden Blue, he's nothing special really, but we know that running backs can do well at the Cowboys, so it could be one of those ones where he's a player that isn't great, that's in the right scheme, and it just works for him, kind of like the other winner that you've got, right?
Yeah, some other guy, the fairly clear-cut one for me anyway, was Chase Brown. And I think, we spoke about him in one of the shows pre-draft. And I think you mentioned that you kind of expected him to be one of the guys that has a rookie taken. And the Bengals just feel like one of those teams that would do that, and they didn't. I'm not 100% sure what round Taj Brooks was taken in, but it was day 3. And they brought back Zach Moss, and some RJP Ryan's there now again. So, Brown is one of those where we saw at the end of last season, I think after Zach Moss got injured, he was like the RB5 in points per game. So when he was given sort of that lead role, he really, I guess, dominated, and it was a really valuable fantasy asset. But the doubts are, can he sort of do it? He's one of those sort of lighter backs, isn't he? That is he going to be able to take on that full workload if he is sort of the main guy for them? But they've got all those other guys, so maybe they just split those sort of that RB2 role across the other 3. And he doesn't have to sort of take the full workload like he was at the end of the season. He's explosive enough to kind of produce on the smaller sort of touches, but I mean, right now he's down as a winner for me, but his value I feel was too high, and so I would be quite content selling him for one of these rookies that were drafted early on, but we're kind of having to take them in the first half of the 1st round of rookie drafts. And I'd be more than happy taking one of those guys ahead of Chase Brown. I feel like he is a little bit too overvalued, but compared to what we were thinking a few months ago, there's no doubt that his value is higher for me now. And he's firmly in the running back 1 top 12 conversation. But maybe a little bit too overhyped at the moment.
And like, if you remember a few weeks ago, James, one guy I was like, who's someone that you don't really talk about, not getting any love? I mentioned the name Taj Brooks. There's a chance in there. Taj Brooks is no joke. I know he didn't get amazing draft capital. I know he's not his name spoken about a lot. He was highly, highly productive in college. That seems to be a good scheme for running backs. People are so afraid of Burrow and Chase and Higgins as they should be. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked to see Taj Brooks carve out a little role for himself there, but it will be tricky, obviously, behind those veterans. But yeah, I think he's got a shot. I'm taking some flyers on Taj Brooks in the end of the third and start of the fourth round for sure. And some of the big winners that Ali had, DeAndre Swift, and this is just a question for you then, James. Ali is putting in the show sheet. Is DeAndre Swift the biggest sell in Dynasty fantasy football right now? What do you think?
Maybe, but I just feel like the kind of stink on his name over the last couple of seasons means that you're not really going to get much for him anyway. I do agree that everything's sort of on the outside. It looks positive for him that they didn't draft anyone early on, and I think Ali was sort of mentioned that it looked like they were going to trade up a few times, and then eventually they kind of gave up and just decided to roll with what they got. And drafted, Carl Monongai? No idea how to say his name. Right at the end of the draft, sort of thing. To everyone sort of on the outside, it kind of looks like positive news for Swift. But I just feel like if you're trying to sell him, who's giving you something of note that you can sort of? I think maybe you need to. It's difficult to do this, but you maybe need to wait until the season and see if he is actually the lead guy, and then sell him then, because I think. He's got previous with Ben Johnson, right? That he was the coordinator at the Lions when Swift was there before, and he decided he didn't like him then, and they went out and got Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. So that whether the Bears have kind of decided that they'll focus on other positions this season, and then maybe next season's where they look to make a move for a big running back that's kind of transform the offense like those guys did for the Lions. Like the Lions were good before Montgomery and Gibbs, but they kind of really made the difference in sort of making them contenders. I certainly, I'm happy to sell Swift, but I don't know what you're going to get for him. What would you take for him right now?
I think the Swift one is like a good example of trying to tier up if you can, like use DeAndre Swift and put something else on top of it to go and try and get a guy in the next tier up from, because like you said, he's on his own. People aren't like, I think he'd struggle to get a first round pick for DeAndre Swift, which is crazy because he is a starting running back and usually they should command that kind of value, but I just don't see people paying it. So I would go ahead, use DeAndre Swift, add a little first on top. If you have a rookie draft going on at the minute, you might be able to get yourself high up in the first round to get one of these younger rookies to try and put on your team and get younger and better at the running back position at the same time. And your mileage will vary with DeAndre Swift. Man, this game moves on so fast. Like trying to buy him when he was the starting running back of the Lions was impossible, and now trying to sell him is impossible.
Couple of these two guys we've spoken about, right? So Swift at some point was like running back 2, running back 1 dynasty with Javonte Williams, exactly the same thing. Things change so fast. I mean, we're not talking 5-6 years ago, but we're talking 3 or 4. Where these were the top guys, and I think I might have even done a dynasty startup where I took Swift in the first or second round. It's just it's crazy how things can change, and he's kind of. Well, he was almost irrelevant last season, and now looks like he's maybe got built up a little bit of value. I like the idea tearing up, maybe moving up in the first round of the draft for one of these rookies.
Yeah, absolutely. And then James, just a question for you. The other two things Ali has noted here, I'll just ask you which one, who do you think is the bigger winner out of these? It's the Titans wide receiver room or Jerry Jeudy? Who do you think is the bigger winner out of those two in terms of post-draft?
So I guess the Jeudy argument is there's no Travis Hunter, and we thought that that would be the case. There's not really much else behind him. Obviously, Cedric Tillman flashed a little bit last season for, was it a concussion that ruled him out for quite a few weeks? Titans receiver room, but what is that? It's Calvin Ridley and not much else, right? Obviously, the top 4 wide receiver, Treylon Burks. But I would go with the guys that have a quarterback that we're kind of at least semi-positive about in Cam Ward. So I'd say Calvin Ridley is a bigger winner than Jerry Jeudy, but yeah, it's not really either of those sort of rooms to get overly excited about, is it, at the moment? I mean, the Titans took your guy Restrepo as was he undrafted free agent in the end?
Yeah, he was undrafted because he hadn't finished running his 40 time by the time the draft came along, so they couldn't quite draft him, but he is finished now. So yeah, they took him right after he finished it, just after round 7 it ended.
Yeah, and they took Gunnar Helm as well, didn't they? Yeah, there's the Titans room I guess it's going to be interesting to see. Does anyone sort of step up behind Ridley? But yeah, with the Browns and that quarterback room, like honestly, who knows what's going to happen. So I wouldn't be overly excited about any of those receivers at the moment. Maybe after a few weeks and maybe Shadur's starting and he looks like an NFL player. But if it's either, well, I guess if you've got Flacco starting for a few games, you're fairly happy, aren't you? Because he's certainly helped wide receivers in recent years. But if we've got Pickett or Gabriel playing games, I'm not really overly confident in starting any of those Browns pass catchers.
I don't think Kenny Pickett makes the cut. I think he's gone.
They traded for him. How can they? What do they do? How can they cut him?
It's like the most Browns thing ever, right? I think they give like it's weird. I think both players involved in that trade might not even make Dorian Thompson-Robinson was sent the other way, plus like a little pick. I don't think he's going to make the Eagles team. I think they're both going to be cut, and it could end up like back on their opposite teams that are free. Like who knows what's going to happen? Like it's a whole mess over there with the Browns quarterback room. Who knows what's going to happen? So there's definitely going to be some winners and losers for sure. James, that brings us on to our 2-minute warning where we round up the show. We got some Dynasty trade questions. If you want to be a part of it, make sure you check us out over on X. You can find that. You can ask your trade questions and we'll do our best to answer them on the show. So let's go one QB, James, something we don't often do. It's non-PPR, something we don't often do. My goodness. I love to see the scoring format in this. Who's like at the top of these charts? It is 12 team though. Do you take Brian Thomas Jr. or Ashton Jeanty?
Yeah, that's the non-PPR part. Is the difficult part here because normally that's a smash, Brian Thomas, right? Well, yeah, in most situations I can understand the argument for Jeanty. So I guess in non-PPR. You lead the running back, and we're talking about a top 5 dynasty running back. We're not talking about top 12 or whatever. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. great rookie season, but in those wide receivers, he's maybe a little bit further down the list than Jeanty is. If we're comparing like for like, Jeanty be much higher to the sort of the most valuable player at his position. So that non PPR. Is the factor here. So I think I'd lean Jeanty, but just as someone that's used to playing the PPR format, you just kind of naturally would sort of sway towards a wide receiver, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I think the non-PPR just makes it pretty easy for Ashton Jeanty. This is a weird, I don't know, like genuine. Without trying to be insulting, why would you ever play non-PPR? I don't understand. I don't really get what's the upside for that. Like, it doesn't really reflect the player and how good they are in terms of NFL status. Or I don't. One QB I can understand, but the non-PPR I can't wrap my head around. It must be an old league, maybe a really old league that
everyone started on. Everyone started on that, right? Non-PPR back in when you first played Fantasy Wildcard anyway. For years before we switched it to PPR.
I'm still campaigning with an iron fist to get rid of defenses in my home league. I need to get rid I hate even the kickers. They can go too, James. I know people like their kickers. They can go too. Like they can go as well. But I get shot down every year. And around this time, right after the rookie draft, I bring it up. It's like, so we're getting rid of these, and I get shot down every year. Although I get a little bit closer. I got quite close last time, so we'll see what happens this year. So next up, and this is good because we don't have Ali here, and this is quite good because this is for a contender. So Ali wouldn't be able to answer this question because he doesn't know anything about that, James. So luckily, you got 2 winners like us on here to answer this on a contending team, 12-team Dynasty Superflex with PPR. Oh, this is a good one. Which acronym do you prefer here? CMC or JSN?
Yeah, this is difficult, but obviously the contender part means that you would go towards CMC, but I don't know. It's a real toss up for me. It's a cop out answer, but it would be what's my roster looking like? Like I'm more than happy keep holding on and starting JSN as a contender, but if I have 0 running backs, I don't know if that means that wouldn't really make me a contender, would it? But if I've got no sort of top tier running backs, then and I'm stacked at wide receiver, or I've got 2 or 3 that I'm sort of happier above JSN, then I can understand the CMC side. But yeah, just sort of the doubts over his health, and obviously missed so much time last season, and it was just it wasn't even the injury and how long he was out for. It was the uncertainty around it, and I just don't want a part of that. Like, we went into week 1 thinking he was going to start, and then I don't even know what week it was where he finally did see the field, and then even then it wasn't for very long. The 49ers are very sort of vague with their injuries. If I'm sort of presented with the choice, I would take the guy that the wide receiver that's got the longevity, and I'm sort of confident for years. With CMC, who knows? But I can understand it in certain situations where you would go for the running back.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement. If you're thinking about getting rid of JSN for CMC, just remember JSN stands for just say no. You want to keep that guy on your team ahead of Christian McCaffrey for sure, especially with what happened last year. Oh, look at this. We got another different format coming up, James. A 16-teamer. Love that. With half PPR, Dynasty, one QB is fine when you really venture into a 16 team league. Would you take Jahmyr Gibbs or Caleb Johnson, a 26 first and a 26 second? What are you thinking for that one?
Yeah, the 16 team. For me, normally just take Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, I'm not. Yeah, he's a far superior asset. And I guess that 26 first in a 16 team, that could be what we would normally call a mid second, and then that 26 second could be what we would normally call an early third.
Rubbish.
Yeah. So I guess in that I would be Gibbs for me. I get you. I can kind of see where where the league is that deep, you kind of want the multiple assets over the one. But yeah, for me, not those assets. If it was actual players that I know who they are, that's equivalent of those. So if you could trade that 26 first and then 26 second for players that are going to contribute for you, because who knows what those picks are going to end up being. Then maybe that would be the way I would go. But yeah, just Gibbs for me, because running back 1 really, isn't he? So
yeah, for me anyway, your mileage may vary on how you play in 16 team leagues, but I'm all about give me as many good players as possible. Even like with the draft picks, I said I basically have no draft picks in these leagues because they are such a lottery. So I'll take Jahmyr Gibbs all day long in that one, in the 16 teamer. It's even pretty close in a 12 one as well, to be honest. It's not too far away. Not too far away in a 12. So let's end it up with, this is a super interesting one. You got your 12 team super flex PPR tight end premium. Sam Darnold or Jackson Dart? This is a great question.
Yeah, it's horrible to answer, isn't it? I'd hate to be faced with this. Probably, it sounds, I don't know, does it sound stupid? I'm probably going Sam Darnold. But because we've seen, he was a QB1 season from him last year. It's not going to be the same this year, but we saw it last year. With Jackson Dart, you just don't know. I guess the question is, Jackson Dart, you're drafting him, he's probably late first, as in your rookie drafts. Would you sacrifice Sam Darnold to pick? I'd struggle with it. What do you think?
I still just can't trust Sam Darnold. I'm like, it's the guy that said he's seen ghosts out there. Like, I find it so tricky, especially now he's moved teams. If Sam Darnold,
Yeah.
if we knew he was playing on the Vikings, this is easy.
Mhm.
But I mean, this is if Sam Darnold plays well, we're going to see just how bad that Jets that Jets system is over there. If he goes and succeeds at two different teams, we'll see that's a real problem for the Jets, and poor Justin Fields is going to walk into that. But then as well, Jackson Dart, that's not the finished product either. This is
I guess
a real
you can talk yourself into the rookie, can't you? Because you've not seen it before. So maybe he's Josh Allen. We know that Sam Darnold's season last year was massively inflated by the environment he was in, the head coach, and everything like that. And we know, we're really confident that that's not going to happen on any other roster. Certainly not the Seahawks. So with Jackson Dart, there's the Brian Dable connection as well. But maybe he gets something out of him, and obviously he's not going to be Josh Allen, but maybe he is an actual viable long-term starting quarterback, and then you can easily talk yourself into that. But I don't necessarily see it, so it's going to be tough for me to go for that side. But which one do you have right now? And just keep it, don't trade, I guess, is my answer.
Yeah. I think if you put a gun to my head, I'll probably take the swing on Jackson Dart. I think, but that's a super close one. And that. Sorry, go on.
Before we finish, I'm going to put a gun to your head because I've got one of my own trades that someone's offered me, and I'm going to suggest it to you. So this is our team. I won the league last year. A little humble brag.
Obviously.
And I have Joe Burrow. At the moment, my wide receiver one is Lad McConkey, but I've been offered T. Higgins and a 26th third, and I have no idea. It's a real toss up for me. Again, I would probably just stick with what I've got rather than making the deal. But that T. Higgins has signed the deal with the new deal with the Bengals, so that stack is sort of appealing, I guess. It's no Jamar Chase stack, but I guess there's something to it. What do you think?
T. Higgins, not through design, but has just sort of ended up one of my most owned dynasty wide receivers. I don't really know how it's happened. I find it incredibly difficult to know when to start him. He's a slight headache because he's one of those guys. He's not quite like your classic MVS type guy that's like a proper just best ball guy, but I find it tricky to know when to start him. And even though T. Higgins' ceiling might be like humongous and bigger, I think I'd be happier putting in Lad McConkey week to week and just knowing what I'm getting. So I would say your instinct is right there, James, and just sticking with Lad McConkey.
Nice, yeah, thanks. I think, like you said, the Higgins thing, there are weeks where it just does nothing. Like even when he is starting, obviously he has a checkered injury history. But there's weeks where we've just seen him on the sideline, not getting on the field because something's happened in the warm ups or something like that. And I've certainly had a few weeks where he's burnt me with stuff like that. So glad to see you agree.
Yeah, I think this safer there. And if you're going to get rid of a guy like McConkey, it has to be an offer that'll just completely knock your socks off. And it doesn't quite do it for me. But this show certainly has, James. I've had a hell of a lot of fun, as always, chatting to you. And of course, we do miss Ali. Hopefully, we'll see him here next week. Should be a great one. Hopefully, you enjoyed. Guys, remember, make sure you're subscribing wherever you can on the show. It really does help us out. So, from James and from me, we'll see you very soon. And don't forget, when you have the wild card, you have the power to change the game. Bye.